Hello viewers, Tim Poole here, editor of Gambling Insider, and I'm with Jussi Lindberg, CRO at Trustly. Jussi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Plenty of new developments for you to discuss. Should we talk about pay and play and the new generation?
Yes, why shouldn't we? So pay and play, new generation, what does that mean even? Pay and play was something we pioneered back in 2016. It was on demand from our merchants to get a simplified version of actually getting the user to be able to log in and at the same time be verified and be able to deposit funds. So once you complete the way of identifying yourself, you're already in a logged in state at the operator's site. Groundbreaking at a time, taking away a lot of the friction, right? So what can we do from here? Good question. So on popular demand again, 9 years later, I know it takes time, but once you can pull the latest technologies in terms of identification, as well as triangulating all the payments we have done ever, and taking that into real-time decision making, recognizing the user with our trusty Azura flow, you can get down the transaction speeds with our pay and play new generation, getting the user to get in a logged in state much faster. To give you an idea, to go from speeds of roughly 40 to 45 seconds to under 10 seconds. Game changer.
Yeah. So you said obviously it takes time, influencing and impacting change like this, but how different is the payments industry and payments in gaming now to say 9 years ago thanks to technologies such as this?
I would say it's very, very different. And why I say by this, not only with reducing the times, you also reduce a lot of the friction. And the friction comes from other third parties. It can anything from either the card schemes, from the banks, from regulators, or just the way you identify yourself. What you see now with new technologies being developed and standardized, mainly standardized, you can embed all of these into one single API that you can provide and get everybody a better, smoother experience. That's what we ultimately want, everyone. And at the same time, you can also drive down the cost. Multiple providers were something that you needed to have before, one for identification here, one for affordability perhaps, one for KYCing, etc. Now you can get all of these things and not only drive down your costs, but also improve the way that users are depositing and also importantly, getting their funds out instantly.
You mentioned briefly Azura as well. That was a big launch for you guys, and there was a lot of kind of streamlining involved. How has that impacted the business, and how has that kind of kicked on since?
It's kicked off well. I mean, it's less than 1.5 years of the official launch, which we made. We've been rolling this out market by market. Obviously, it works super, super well in the markets where you're already established, because it actually is where you've had the most amount of usage has been in the Nordics, obviously in Germany, also in the UK, etc., in Northern Europe, where the open banking rails are established, where we've done payouts since 2008. But now we're bringing this across to multiple markets as well. And you see the uptake, and some interesting stats is that trusty Azura users are not only depositing more funds, they're more engaged, but they're also coming back to a certain degree. And we have all the stats, so please come to talk to us on how you can improve your payment flows.
Absolutely. I mean, retention is absolutely crucial kind of in any business, but certainly in gaming. Looking at the wider payments industry and payments in gaming, as 2025 kind of starts and kicks off, what are the biggest trends at the moment? Obviously, open banking is big. There was a lot of focus on cashless a couple of years ago. What are the things that are really kind of leading the agenda at the moment?
A couple of things. If you take the regulatory side, I'm not going to speak for that one.
Sure, but that's a whole side in itself.
That's a whole side in itself.
Yeah.
But if you take about the cool things that you can now do, not only looking at open banking APIs, you can also look at it from an account-to-account perspective. And what's the difference then? Account-to-account is more where you're using a local dominant scheme for doing bank payments. A good example of this is Ideal in Netherlands. 70% of the flows are done with Ideal, on average. When you combine this, not only with trusty Azura, but also with direct deposits and direct payouts, that's when you get the whole unique level of actually providing players with the best experience possible. Taking this to multiple markets like Belgium, also looking at Spain, Portugal and so on, Now we're on to something. So instead of just talking about some coverage here and there, we can actually talk about a more of a Western European, pan-European coverage that is not only working to, let's say, 60 to 80% of the flows, it's actually getting close to 100. And that's where we want to get to.
Fantastic. And obviously you've talked about Pay and Play, the new generation, we've talked about Azura. Looking at 2025, what are the kind of goals and targets that Trustly has?
A couple of things. I think first of all, keep building on the great data set that you already have. And what I mean by this is like there's a lot of talk about the affordability, income verification stuff.
Absolutely.
Embed that into Azura flow and make that as seamless as possible. Secondly, how can you actually take whatever you can do in one country and replicate it as much as possible in the second one? So you get a standardized, unified set of data, and not only on the reporting side, but also on the settlement times. A key component here has been, when I was here yesterday, settlement times. Getting instant settlement is really key. And why that it's important also for merchants, it's not only also important for the players. Get the instant payouts. Sometimes they have to wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That just means they're going to go to someone else doing instant payouts. Key critical component. And sometimes we also forget, we're great here in Europe, to a certain degree, we're leading the instant payment charge, but US is also coming on board right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happening there, and we're seeing the uptake in the US business now. Man, that's going to be an interesting trajectory for the coming years as well. You're looking at Florida now, that's open. More states are just going to come, and we're going to look at other avenues like casinos and stuff. Stay tuned.
A final question.
Yeah.
If you were to give one piece of advice for whether it's operators or perhaps just people, other companies in the payments industry, what is absolutely at the top of the list in terms of this is what you have to do and need to know?
Always cross-check the information because sometimes it can sound very good. Everything is simple and so on, but when you scratch underneath the surface, what are you going to cover up? It could be anything from knowing that your provider has multiple bank partners, so they're not just relying on one single payment rail. Secondly, it can also be that do they have the right type of funding in place? A third one could be, does this really match with my technology? We've seen horrible examples of integrations done. And when you do those type of integrations and trying to make a payment flow that the user will not like, you'll see significant drop-offs, and not just about the payment methods. It doesn't have to be about instant payments, it's about everything. I just saw some beautiful flows from a customer yesterday based in the UK. They're one of the biggest and the greatest in the operator space. Been around for a long, long time. I'm not going to say the name here, but come talk to us and we'll show you their flow without interfering from our side. What they built, next generation of customer experience. That's what we want to have.
Fantastic. Well, Jussi, thanks very much for your time and best of luck with everything you're looking to achieve in 2025.
You too, and thank you so much. Enjoy your eyes.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
And to our viewers, thanks for watching.